Hi, welcome to Steph's World. Let's see, this is Spiritual Foundations 34. Pretty sure about that. It could be a part 1 again. I wasn't quite done with I Am a Patriot. Not at all. I don't think I'll ever be really done with that. But, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to combine some of my spirituality stuff with the facts. Just the facts, please. That was something that I was taught as a child, that we research, that we don't discuss stuff and write stuff that is not valid, that we cannot prove. Now, it isn't that easy getting all the facts right now. I can't go to the library. I have to rely a lot on the computer. The good news is I was a computer programmer for a very long time, and I spent a lot of time on the internet long before many people did. Long before. I usually know when a website is not quite valid, and by knowing, when I say that, believe me, it's not just my own personal knowledge, it comes higher than that. I trust my heart or my soul. I can feel it. I know, this isn't going to give me the real facts. They're building for a reason. They have some kind of purpose going on here. Those aren't the websites I'm interested in. What I'm interested in are historical facts. Okay? Now, we're getting close. My son's dog tag. Remember that? I am a patriot all the way. All the way. This is my son, Sergeant Matthew Norris Miller. There he is, growing up. Yeah. Never imagined that he would become this. Never. Not in a million years. Now, why do I say that? Well, my son was afflicted with what a lot of people would say a debilitating disease. But when he was a child, I told him, I said, whatever you want to do, if you really want it, nothing can stop it. You can do anything you want to do. You just have to want to do it bad enough. And sure enough, he did. This is a young man that was beaten up in grade school regularly. In fact, you can see it in this picture even, he had 2 scars on each side of his head. And one of them was caused by the making fun of him when he was in grade school. I had to leave work one day when they called me and said, your child's bleeding profusely, and we're very worried about the openness close to his eyeball and the nerves. And when I got there, sure enough, it almost made me sick to lose it or to see it. Yeah, I almost lost it in the stomach. Let me tell you, it was really tough. This was my little boy. And I was angry. I really was. Now, the problem was back then, when I got angry, I threatened to sue the whole world. Even the school district. I was pretty upset. What was really upsetting to me was that the boys that did this to him, Their parents never made them apologize. My son, 3 times a week, was getting therapy for his disability. Now, fortunately, it was mild, and unless you were around him a lot, you couldn't really tell. He was a master at hiding it, amazingly good. So when he grew up, he didn't fall back on, oh shoot, I got this disability, I better go on this disability. No, he didn't do that, not one bit, not at all. He didn't know for sure what he wanted to do until 9/11, and then he made his choice. You know, it took me a while to decide college was definitely where I needed to go. I never push anyone anymore into making a quick decision. I figure if they pray about it, or even if they don't pray about it, it doesn't matter. The light of God is going to come into their hearts at some point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who talks to them. None of that matters, because they're going to figure it out eventually. Now, I'm not going to talk about things that other people may not believe in right now. That's for a later little review. But let me talk about the Patriot Act again. And before, I read some things by Thomas Jefferson. You may have realized that I really, really had great respect for what Thomas Jefferson had to say. Because, in a way, Thomas Jefferson, he tried to warn us about what could happen. And everything he tried to warn us about apparently seems to be coming true. We have done the exact opposite of what I think his vision was for this country. Now, I want to talk about some things here about surveillance and privacy laws that were affected by this U.S. Patriot Act. Okay? And I'm going to read you what was on that website that I copied over, which I gave credit to in the blog, by the way. I always give credit to anything that I did not write, that did not come from my brain, or did not come from, any research that I have, I give credit to the original place. It's like a bibliography, okay? Now, the U.S. Patriot Act significantly expanded law enforcement authority to surveil and capture communications. Yeah, listen to your phone once in a while while you're conversing with your friends. If you hear a lot of click, 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 you just might be being tapped. Truly, look it up. Now, they're getting a lot better about it, but a few years ago, I could definitely tell there was something going on my phone or someone's phone. I wasn't sure where it was coming from, but I could hear it. Okay. Now, these are 3 major laws that create the framework of the government interception of communications. Title III requires probable cause, a high legal standard to meet, from a judge for real-time interception of the content of voice and data communications. Now, it shows us or tells us to see Epic's wiretapping page. Now, I'm sure Epic is still out there, but probably under another website, and I just need to find it. But I can find all this stuff on another website, the UCLA website, okay? Remember that. I'll be talking about that here in a little bit. Now, Electronic Communications Privacy Act, ECPA. I love how we give all these letters to everything. It's just gotten so out of control. Unbelievably out of control. Governs government access to stored email and other electronic communications. I want you to remember something. This was written even before 2001. Okay? Before 2001. Remember what I said about how the Patriot Act was already in Congress and being discussed before 9/11? Remember that? Okay. So, basically, your email has probably, some of you, maybe not all of you, in the beginning, has probably been monitored to some degree by the American government, even before the terrorist acts. Yeah. Okay, so, let's see. Now, this is very important. Within ECPA, the Pen Register statute governs real-time interception of numbers dialed or otherwise transmitted on a telephone line to which such device is attached. They're listening. Big time. Big time. Do not think they aren't. Now, and by the way, I'll talk about who they is here in a minute. Although the use of such devices requires a court order, it does not require probable cause. There is no judicial discretion, and the court must authorize the surveillance upon government certification. A government attorney need only certify to the court that the information likely to be obtained by such installation and use is relevant to an ongoing criminal investigation. You know how simple that could be? Come on! This stuff is happening and there is nobody else in that courtroom. If it's even being done in a courtroom, it's probably being done in a judge's chambers. Come on, people. Time to wake up. It's been time. We're overdue. No. Please, listen to this. Watch it. Okay, now this is what it's called. Therefore, the Pen Register and Trap and Trace statute lacks many of the privacy protections found in the wiretap statute. Now, this is highly, highly important for a lot of reasons. Then there's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. Everything's got an acronym. That's what we call it. Okay? Authorize the government to carry out electronic surveillance against any person even Americans in the United States, upon obtaining a judicial order based upon probable cause that the target is a foreign power or an agent of a foreign power. Come on. FISA, which applies primarily to the government's power in foreign intelligence and counterintelligence cases, therefore does not offer many of the protections required under the federal wiretap statute. Again, see Ethics FISA page. Well, we can go to the UCLA page and probably see all of this. Now, there's a lot more to this, but I don't want to sit here and read it to you. But what I do advise is that you do a little research on your own. I could do it all for you, but you need to see it for yourself. That's my attitude. You know, a lot of times I've found that people just don't buy it until they actually see it. Well, let's talk about a few things, okay? Actually, I got a lot of things I need to talk to you about, but let's talk about a few things. And remember now, I'm a patriot. Wholeheartedly, I'm a patriot. And my son, my baby boy here, and he's my baby boy, let me tell you. When he was a little baby, a year old, what a smart little kid he was. He was something else. On a Saturday or a Sunday when I'd be off work, and he would know it. He'd know that was our time. That little sweetheart he had his crib in my room, of course, because I was making sure that my child was watched over. And that's the way I think a good parent does that kind of thing. I loved him so much, I did not want him to be hurt in any way. Not in any way. So my little boy, my little Matt, he was something else, let me tell you. He'd wake Mama up. Oh, he had a crib full of toys, right? Well, he stood up at that crib. Of course, he could walk by then. And he took every one of his toys and he'd throw a toy at his mommy. And boy, he was accurate. And next thing I know, I hear this. I'm slowly but surely waking up and I hear this. He's laughing. He's laughing at his mama. Yeah. My little sweetheart loved his mama. He really did. He loved me so much. Because you know why? I loved him with all my heart, and I still do. That love goes way beyond human life, believe me. There's a soul love here that will never end. So, let me tell you something. This little boy right there, he grew up and he was a patriot. He went way beyond the call of duty. And at his funeral, his military funeral, they talk about it big time. Now, where do you think he became a patriot from? His mama taught him to be a patriot for his country. I am a patriot all the way. And I'm part Native American. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My family loved this country. Native American or not, they loved it. They embraced democracy. Now, let me tell you what happened on May 26, 2011. Congress passed a 4-year extension on 3 expiring Patriot Act provisions. It was very interesting. Instead of waiting for both the House and the Senate to amend them, Congress moved ahead and reauthorized. The information is obtainable on the ACLU website and does a nice job of outlining the acts. So the provisions were what I just read you, the wiretapping statutes. Yep. And guess who was behind that big time? Guess who signed that into law just as fast as he could? President Barack Obama. Okay? Now, I remember the promises that Barack Obama came up with. I remember them in what, 2007 was it? Or 2008? And boy, do I remember it. Because this was a young man. Well, you know, he wasn't that old. Come on, he had little kids. Came out of nowhere. The question was, where did this guy come from? Just where did he pop out of from? You know, all these other presidential nominated people in the past, the press was on them. We knew all about them way before they were part of the nominations and the, you know, part of the process to become elected president of the United States. But not President Obama. Seemed like the press just went away. I'm not sure what happened there. I remember it very distinctly. Very distinctly. It even caught me for a little while. I even fell for it for a little while. Okay? But when he got into office, something happened. Big change. All those promises I heard, it was like he totally disregarded every promise he ever made. It was like he fooled us. Now, I know some of you may not agree with that, but look it up, because I have. I did. I got a lot of research on this one, let me tell you. And this is just little pieces of it. Now, let me get into this a little bit, if I can. There's so much. It's amazing. Let's see. One of the Obama promises were that he would bring all our troops home within 16 months. Well, in 2009, on Easter Sunday, I got a phone call from my patriot son. He'd already been in Iraq. Okay? He'd already served a whole year in Iraq. He'd been back for a while. I was so happy. But there were a lot of troops still in Iraq. But Matt had performed his duty so far. I got this phone call from my son. It wasn't a happy phone call, not by any means. I believe that he was actually crying. And he told me, he said, Mom, I have to go on the transport in 2 hours. And I was in super shock. I never expected that. Easter 2009, he was headed for Afghanistan. At that point in time, my son was a master sergeant. He was part of the medevac unit, helicopters, to help bring the injured in, to search out and bring the injured in. Thousands of young men and women went over on Easter 2009. Thousands. But there was that promise that President Obama made us. Now, and I even notated here, after signing in, he sent massive transports on Easter 2009 And my son had 5 hours of notice. But when he called me, he only had 2 hours left. I talked to my baby boy because he'll always be my baby boy. I don't care how old he was at the time. He was still my little baby boy. And I calmed him down and I said, honey, you'll be watched over. Don't worry. Well, I believe he was. You know, when he passed on, I do believe that that was his time. I truly do. I think he was being called home, so to speak. And it was just hard. It was a shock, to lose my child before I passed. I expected to be waiting for my children, not to have my child wait for me. It was pretty tough. A lot of parents have had to go through that. Believe me, I'm not the only one. Now, oh yeah. Now, here's something else that Barack Obama promised. He promised that he would remove the Patriot Act. Remove it. That was a direct promise. If you don't believe me, look it up. Now, what he did do was he re-signed in pieces of it that were getting ready to expire. May 26, 2011. And that one was a pretty big one. That was part of the wiretapping statute. There were secret abductions sent to foreign countries, no trials. You know, what happened to the Geneva Convention? What happened to all that? That's one question we should be asking about. Now, some of this are notes for the blogs that I'm getting ready to write. So you have to bear with me. When I write down notes, I get a little sloppy. So, here's what Obama says. Okay? Step up to the plate. Now, he says that a lot. Okay? What is the plate? I'm still trying to figure that one out. He says, are the American people and many of our Euro allies already on the plate, being cooked and fried? Now, what the heck does that mean? I'd like to know, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you like to understand what that means? You know, when you got a charisma about you, and some people do, they really do. Hitler had a charisma. It was a difficult time in Germany back then, real difficult. The whole world was in a terrible depression. It wasn't just our country, it was the whole world. And suddenly, out of nowhere, came a man named Adolf Hitler. And he made promises big time. Of course, he was fighting in his country, he was really fighting big time. Some heavy duty players. But he had charisma. And he made some promises. And when he spoke, have you ever watched any old vintage shows about him? He's loud. He's forceful. He really gets into it. And, you know, Barack Obama is a lot like that. He does a little bit of the same thing. not quite as forceful, but he's full of promises. And yes, we can do it. You know, remember that one? Well, now we're seeing it on commercials on TV. I don't watch TV much, to be honest with you. But when I do, it's a real shock to see I can do it or we can do it at the end of the commercial. Wow. Woo! That's kind of scary. I've never seen a president get our commercials to repeat some of the stuff that he said when he was trying to become our president. Never. This was a first. Okay, let's see what time it is. 30 minutes. I'm not going to take much more on this part one. Now, I've gone back, okay? I've gone way back. Not just on Barack Obama. This stuff was being put into the works long before Barack Obama. Now, here's one of the things. I've got a number of items here, but here's one. There was a police state control grid being put into place. Detention centers being set up. This is facts. Now, this is before Barack Obama even went into office. Civilian American Army. Now, this is under Obama. Under Obama's orders, the president, now, I didn't say this. I wrote this from some information I got. He was being called a dictator. Now, don't quote me. I just wrote this down. Now, here's the thing. Now, the Army, under Obama's orders, the civilian Army, is being compulsory. 3 months of service. Even seniors. Seniors! People that have arthritis so bad they can't even hardly move their hands, let alone fire an assault weapon. Come on. Give me a break. Yeah, that's one of the things. And then I wrote this down. This is even before all the gun control stuff started up. HR 45-1022, destroy the constitutional amendment to carry arms. Get up. Gun control. Let's see. Curtail free speech everywhere. Healthcare control all. Expand more military overseas everywhere. Okay, let's see what else we got. This is just some of the old stuff, but I got a whole bunch more, trust me. I did a little research into Mr. Obama, President Obama. And, you know, that's why I say all the other presidents went under extreme press, you know, attack. I mean, what else was it but attack? Every time we had a presidential election, it's like the press was looking for bad stuff about every candidate. It was unbelievable. But nobody did that with Obama, President Obama. No one did that. Why is that? Why didn't they do that? They had all these other people they were doing it to. For 20, 25 years, it was so annoying, I would just shut it off because it was crap. It was not good journalism. I don't know what to call it. I made a comment one time that if they did that back in the old days, Thomas Jefferson never would have become president. Not in a million years. Not with his life. Woo! Okay, now some of this stuff is going to go into the blog, and I really don't want to read about that. But what I do want to get into real quick, and we're going to continue this as I get further along, is, here's a bunch of stuff on Mr. Obama, President Obama, about his mother, about his early life in his world, and how the question was, how did this man go from where he was in 1992 to where he went in 2008? How did this man get so fast? We need to ask that question. Now, I got quite a bit of information on him. Now, I want to talk about something else, though, besides President Obama. There's a lot of talk of conspiracy in our political world right now. Well, I think there's a lot of conspiracy going on. I think there's just a magnitude of conspiracy. And I think it's outrageous. Just totally outrageous. Now, the good news about all this is that I also believe that we are headed for something good. Now, it's going to take some time. It's going to take quite a bit of time. But we're in the age of Aquarius, whether you want to believe it or not, we are. And it started a while back, when I was even a teenager. Somebody wrote a song about it, but it was true. We were in the age of Aquarius. And we still are. Now, the thing of it is, I will not take up arms against my own country. They'll never, see me do that, not in a million years. I believe in peace. I don't believe in firing a gun at anybody, except if somebody comes into my home and tries to attack me. According to the Constitution, I have that right. But even then, I'm not so sure I would even do that. I would never try to harm anyone seriously, not ever. I might try to maim them a little bit, but I wouldn't kill them. Only in complete self-protection. And I question that about myself, too. Maybe I wouldn't do it at all. Maybe I'd let God, my Creator, take care of things for me. Because I have great faith in that. But I want to tell you something. Some of the conspiracy theories and some of the conspiracy that I truly believe have been going on for over 100 years. Now, I have great research on that. Unbelievable. Okay? Pages and pages of it. Notes and notes that I have written about it. I'm not even completely done with it. But the point is that there was a man a long time ago, in 1899, the last will and testament of Cecil J. Rhodes in South Africa. He was a white man from England, and he was down in South Africa, and he was already fairly wealthy. But when he was down there, he bought some diamond mines. And in 1902, I believe he was absolutely the richest man in the world, from what my information tells me. Now, Cecil J. Rhodes had some very serious political and spiritual ideas. And he wrote some things quite a bit down, and he had some followers big time. And he had an idea about how to actually bring in what he called the New World Order. The New World Order. Yeah. It started actually back in 1877. How about that? Bet you didn't know about that. But anyway, here's something that he wrote in one of his first drafts of this idea. I contend that we are the first race in the world. Now he's talking about Anglo-Saxons, okay? So he contends that he or we are the first race in the world, and that the more the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race. That's big stuff, isn't it? And he says, I contend that every acre added to our territory means the birth of more of the English race, who otherwise would not be brought into existence. And he added to this, the absorption of the greater portion of the world under our rule simply means the end of all wars. I'm going to tell you something. Well, before I say that, let me tell you what else he says. Here's one of his dreams. Well, he's dead now, but here's one of the dreams that he had. To bring all British colonies back together. Now, this was one of his wills. He had several. He passed away at a very young age. Very young. Okay? But what's really important is what he did, what was done with his wills after he passed away. And what he began, seriously began. We're going to talk about indoctrination in our next little thing. But let's not forget the spirituality in all this, because there is spirituality, believe me. The spirituality is that possibly every bit of this is supposed to be, whether we like it or not, it's supposed to happen in order for us to allow our next few generations to discover what they need to discover about themselves, and then begin a new process of change. Maybe we have to allow what is happening to happen. How are we going to fight that? We can't fight that physically, but we can fight that spiritually. And I want y'all to keep that in your minds. Please. Remember, I am of God. I am not of any religion. Not one. Sorry, just don't buy that. I don't think spirituality is all about religion, and I never will. But I love y'all, and I don't care what religion you're in, I still love you. Anyway, I'm going to call it to close, so I'll talk to you later. Love y'all.